How is everyone doing? I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lines TV, and welcome to the player ratings video after our 2-1 win, a 2-1 hard fought win against Cardiff today. If you guys want to hear my thoughts and opinions on the match, I suggest you do. In the card above is going to be a link to the match review. You guys, if you do like today's video, smash that like button, help me get more than 750 likes for today's video, and don't forget to press the bell notification button either, to stay tuned to all things Blue Lines TV. Getting straight into things, starting with Kepa in goal, and to be honest, he made a few decent saves. I felt like he couldn't do much with the goal that Cardiff did score. I thought that some of his passing was decent at times, and I think that Kepa had, an average solid game today. I'm going to be giving him a score of 6 out of 10. Moving on to Aspie, and Aspie really wasn't tested too much down his sides. Offensively, I thought he was okay. I'm going to be honest, I thought in particular, when guys like Ruben and Hazard came on, Aspie was decent in the final third, linking the play. And I thought that the combinations to get the second goal that obviously won us the game was quite decent. Still though, it wasn't the best ever performance I've ever seen. It was quite average again. I'm going to be giving Aspie a score of 6 out of 10. Moving on to Rudiger, and his game today was not the greatest. Now, you guys know my thoughts and opinions on Rudiger. I think he's a good player. He's a solid player. He's definitely good enough to be part of the squad. Is he necessarily first choice defensive material? I'm not too sure about that. I prefer to see Christensen. I thought that Rudiger's passing was poor today. Whenever he attempted any long balls from his position, they weren't coming off. I thought his tackling wasn't on point. I thought that he was quite fortunate that the referee didn't punish him as much. And I think that, his positional sense, as I said earlier, wasn't amazing. It wasn't the greatest display today. I'm going to be giving Rudiger a score of 4 out of 10. Moving on to David Luiz, and in my opinion, I thought that his game was stronger than Rudiger's today. Even when I'm saying that though, it wasn't as if it was one of the greatest Luiz displays. It was an average one. It was just a fairly solid performance. I thought that his positional sense was much better than Rudiger's. Of course, the issue with Luiz is that we don't want to see this guy leaving his position to move out wide, because that's when he does get shown up, and we've seen that time and time again throughout his career. But I thought today it was a solid display. I'm going to be giving Luiz a 6 out of 10. Now, moving on to Marcos Alonso, and I'm sorry, make sure you definitely hear my thoughts and opinions in the match review, but the guy does not deserve to be playing on merit. He's been poor, very poor. I'm not seeing any improvements at all. He's getting worse and worse, and that's a worrying sign. Today, there was this incident in the game where he had tons of space to play any cross he wanted, and he wasted it. Overhit the cross as usual. I think that defensively he hinders the team too much. How many times did you have to see like Jorginho or Luiz moving to the left hand side to really help support Alonso? We don't want them doing that. We don't. Because if you're forcing them to leave their position, it's going to make us more porous and behind. And of course, Marcos Alonso wasn't good in his use of the ball either. Lots of sloppy pieces of play. The guy really isn't up to the standard we'd hoped for playing for us. I'm going to be scoring Alonso a 3 out of 10. Now moving on to Jorginho, and he's a very interesting player. If you want to hear some of my unique observations on him, as I keep saying all the time, watch the match review. It's going to be on a card above somewhere. But I thought that Jorginho was very mediocre, and we see a very mediocre Jorginho quite a lot. And it's not necessarily his fault, because when you use such a niche player like Jorginho, you require the other squad members to do their thing. There was no runs made by guys like Barkley or Cover. That's not going to help him. Jorginho gets man marks constantly. It's been a repeated thing throughout his career. It's not the first time he's dealt with being man marked, but he's good enough to play through it. That's why he plays in the position he does. But if his supporting cast aren't doing their thing, you're going to limit what Jorginho does. And because the supporting cast weren't on point today, we didn't get to see an amazing Jorginho today. I'm going to be giving him a score of 5 out of 10. Now moving on to Ross Barkley. I'm sorry you guys. It was quite funny because during the international break, when he scored those goals against Montenegro, something told me that people were going to find the excuse to try and blame Sarri and bring up the idea that maybe Sarri's the bottleneck holding Barkley back. Complete nonsense. Complete nonsense. Barkley is another guy like Alonso who I feel isn't up to this level. I provided so much context throughout the season. I sympathise for him, to be a whole year out not playing any football isn't going to help a player like Barkley, especially when he's stepping up from Everton to us. But again, his game is too limited. He doesn't help. No runs off the ball. Compare him to what Ruben was doing earlier. His shots, most of them aren't good enough, and most aren't on target. Sloppy pieces of play. Loses the ball way too easily. He doesn't know what he's going to do with the ball before he receives it. Whenever he's closed down or faces any pressure, he folds. Honestly, I don't understand now why people have so much more faith in Barkley compared to other players. It doesn't make any sense for me. I feel like the manager's shown so much faith in him, and Barkley hasn't shown any single signs of improvement. I'm going to be giving Barkley a score of 4 out of 10. Now, moving on to Cover, and for me, it was a game of two halves. I think Cover is another player that plays better with a better supporting cast. Now, I say this because when guys like Ruben, Giroud, and Hazard came on, the complexion of the game changed for us, and I started to notice Cover more. And I've noticed that sometimes I forget that Cover does play, but there's other times where he's playing with a better supporting cast. You see him stand out more. And it's no surprise to me because obviously when Jorginho was subbed off, Cover was obviously playing in a 4-2-3-1, and that's his natural and best position. We saw how tenacious he was in the tackle. We saw him use the ball very well, link up the play effectively as well. But because of the poor 55 minutes before Hazard came on, I'm going to be giving Cover a score of 5 out of 10. Now, I'm going to be scoring Willian and Pedro together because they will be getting the same score for me. And in my opinion, they both went at fault for anything that happened in the game today. I thought that their movement off the ball was actually quite decent. I thought they worked quite hard as well. I think that they tried to make things happen. I could see a little tactical tweak in the game that Sarri used today. I feel like because the midfield players weren't creating any space for them, a lot of times Willian and Pedro are being forced to run into dead ends every single time. There was no fullbacks making overlapping runs to stretch your play. Midfield players in Cover and Barkley weren't offering any decent support either. They tried to make things happen. They tried to take shots on goal as well. I don't think it was an awful performance from them, but at the end of the day, it wasn't as if they both lit up the world. I'm going to be giving Pedro and Willian a score of 6 out of 10. Now, moving on to Higuaín, and I'm sorry, I sympathise with this guy a lot. Another game where he gets no service. He was forced to take shots from outside the box to try and test the goal because he's a striker and that's what he's paid to do. But I feel like Higuaín doesn't get too much credit for his build-up play. Now, yes, of course, he does lose the ball, but let's be serious. When he plays as a striker, strikers are the ones that tend to lose possession of the ball more. So we can't really hold that against him too much. But I thought that was a very selfless performance from Higuaín. I thought his pressing was a bit better today. I thought that when he was dropping deep, which he was doing time and time again, he was doing it very intelligently. He was receiving the passes from midfield players a lot, and by dropping deep, it meant that the Cardiff City defenders couldn't man mark anyone, and the idea was that Willian and Pedro's runs would create the spaces for late man runs from Higuaín and the midfield players. But we know how that turned out, and for me, I just want to see Higuaín consistently playing with better players. I feel like if Ruben and Emerson are playing in a game with Hazard, Kante, Jorginho, etc., I can expect Higuaín to really test opposition goals even more and really do things, because I don't think he's been an issue this season. I'm going to be giving Higuaín a score of 6 out of 10. Now, moving on to the three main subs, starting with Ruben, and again, another example of Ruben showing up the other midfield players, showing them this is how you play the number 8 role. Now, I've been vouching for Ruben to play as a number 8 throughout the start of this season. You guys know that, because his game is great. He helps players play better. He's the passing option, creates the space. His timing of the run inside the opposition box is great. I mean, he's really, really good at that. He doesn't get any credit for it whatsoever. And he has that galvanizing effect. Great header to score that goal right at the end when he did. It's just typical of the player. Sorry, for God's sake, you have to start him. There's no excuses anymore. I'm going to be giving Ruben a score of 7 out of 10. Moving on to Hazard, another guy that had such a massive positive effect for us. Again, he's another player where the team plays better when he's on the field. And the beauty of having Ruben playing alongside Hazard meant that Hazard's allowed to drift even more. He can play more of a free role. And when you see the goal we scored at the end to win it, A big part of that came from the run that Hazard made to be the passing option, which freed the space for the cross to go into Ruben in the end. They're the key details that add up and make a big difference, and I keep saying this every single time. If our best players play more together, I'm going to be scoring Hazard a 7.5 out of 10. And to end on Olivier Giroud, he's another player where I feel like I might have to make an apology. He's the only player that's really surprised me. I said at the start of the season, expect some players to surprise you in a positive sense and a negative sense. I definitely think that Giroud's been a positive one. I think his outlet is really low-key underrated. This team needs that direct outlet to pump long balls to. Sometimes these guys can't keep the ball when they're getting pressed. So if you've got Giroud up front that's able to keep the ball and win headers, it does make a big difference. On top of that, he's a space creator, and it's no surprise that we really started to overload against Cardiff as the game was petering out. I'm going to be scoring Giroud a 6.5 out of 10. And to end things quickly with the manager and Sarri, what score is he going to get? Sarri isn't going to get the highest score. He is going to get points for the positive changes, but let's be serious, it was common sense. But he made them very early, and he brought them on in a point where we could really start to take the game to Cardiff. Of course, he's going to lose points with the team selection. I don't understand why Alonso is still in the team. Was Emerson injured? There was a rumour that that might be the case, but nothing's come out, so I can't really use that in my review. But for me, he's going to score most of his points for the positive changes in the game. I'm sorry, this is a player ratings video. The context of the video is going to be in regards to the current game, so my opinions will be on the game. I'm not going to overlap current issues with Sarri in the rating of him. So for this match review, I'm going to be scoring Sarri a 6 out of 10. But you guys, that's going to bring it in for today's video. Please like, comment and subscribe. Make sure you share your comments below. Give me your thoughts and opinions on the score. What would you have scored the players? Let me know below. I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Lions TV. See you guys later.